Hi, welcome to A Word in Season. Thank you for joining us. There's a verse in Jeremiah which is placed on a lot of Christian merchandise. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." They're wonderful, true words. And they've brought hope and encouragement to millions over the centuries because they're wonderful and they're true. But it doesn't always seem that way, does it? It's helpful to remember that those words are in a letter from Jeremiah to the people of Israel. And in that letter, just before he gives that promise, he says, when 70 years have elapsed. 70 years. You see, those people had a dream. They had an idea. They had a hope that God would rapidly restore them. There would be a miraculous turning around of events and Jerusalem would be restored. And Jeremiah is saying, well, the Lord is saying through Jeremiah, no, you're there for decades. But in the decades that you are there, you're not abandoned by me. You're not forgotten by me. And if you read Jeremiah, the chapter speaks of provision and protection while they're in exile, and even peace and prosperity. I had a friend who went AWOL when he was in the Australian Air Force many years ago. Eventually gave himself up. AWOL is away without leave, if that's an Australian saying you're not familiar with. And so, of course, he was placed in military prison. And I said to him, he'd come to faith and he was actually in full-time work with homeless young people. But I said to him, what was the toughest aspect of that military prison? And without hesitation, he said, it was digging a trench. So it wasn't the extreme discipline, it wasn't the hours, it wasn't the very limited food. It was digging a trench. Every morning they had to get up and dig in this incredibly difficult, rock-hard clay soil. And they had to dig a trench about waist deep and for quite a long distance. Then, once they'd finished, they had to turn around and fill it in and water it down and run over it with a compactor. So it was rock hard. And then the next morning they had to get up and do it all again. And he said, that's what broke us. No matter how blistered, no matter how bleeding, no matter how exhausted, we knew that this whole thing was futile because tomorrow we'd have to get up and do it again. Do you know one of the most precious things about following Jesus is that he conquered even death. So nothing when you are following him is futile. Paul said to the church in Corinth in 1 Corinthians 15:58, your labour is never futile. It's never in vain in the Lord. So whatever situation you find yourself in, just remember God's ways are not your ways. I love to serve God in an advisory capacity. And so I not only trust his promise to give me hope and a future, but like to suggest to him how he should do it. He'll do it in his time. He'll do it in his way. But he will do it. And in that time of waiting, he's there and he cares. I love the fact that when Jacob and Esau, who spent many years apart because Jacob had stolen Esau's birthright and Esau had threatened to kill him in his anger about that, when they were reunited and Jacob said to him, seeing your face, my twin brother, is like seeing the face of God. He'd sent him many gifts just in case he was still angry. But Esau said, what are you sending me all this? I have plenty. I pray you'll really understand whatever you're facing, he has plans for you. Plans to give you future and a hope. He's for you, not against you. He wants to bless you, not harm you. Thanks for watching.